You are listening to the Enormocast.
The Enormocast invites you to join former guest and friend of the show, Luke Mihal, on his personal journey from the stifling confines of life in the Midwest to the wide open spaces of the great American West. In his new book, American Climber, Mihal lyrically recounts his discovery and love affair with climbing, the desert, and freedom. If you're wondering where all the soul climbers have gone, then look no further than Luke Mihal's American Climber, available at Amazon.com, or get in touch with Luke himself at climbingzine.com. I'm sure he'd love to chat. Lo, these past few months, I've been trying to get you, the listener, to support the Enormocast by buying new climbing shoes from Sportiva. But I realize that many of you have some tried and true kicks, filthy, held together by shoe goo. And they'll probably have to pry them from your cold, gnarled, calloused feet when your heart finally gives out on you while you're soloing the Enormodome or whatever. But did you feel that chill in the air this morning? That coolness that'll start to draw the masochists from their dark, dry tooling lairs? Well, Sportiva makes mountain boots, fruit boots, or if you're a Honnold, crampon-ready sneakers to get you up the gnarliest, iciest project your semi-dormant limbic cortex has dreamed up over the happy days of summer. So it's probably time to start shopping for those if rock climbing is just too fun for you, and they've got trail running shoes for your masochism. So if you want to support the Enormocast, but you don't have any need for finely crafted, high-performing climbing shoes, then go check out their other wares, Sportiva.com or your nearest outdoor retailer. The Enormocast and Sportiva, like two bros in a bivvy sack.
Listen, where are you playing in town? Are you playing here?
We're doing the Enormodome, whatever it is. It's terrific.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
big
big
house.
place,
We sold
that
it
side
out.
of town. That's a
Very
big
nice.
place. You sold
What's
it
that,
out.
20,000
I'll see.
seats?
We really should. Look, you better get up there before you panic. Those pens are loose. You're very good. I have really enjoyed climbing with you. We'll make it. I don't think so. But we shall continue with style. Good weather, bad weather. Now or later, anytime for climbing.
Today's show is brought to you by Black Diamond Equipment, with support from Maxim Ropes.
And the fine folks at La Sportiva. And don't forget our charter sponsor, Bonfire Coffee. Go to bonfirecoffee.com and enter Enorma at checkout for a discount on great coffee and to support the Enormocast.
And now back to the show.
Hello and welcome to the Enormocast. This is your host, Chris Kalous. It is August 25th, about 10 o'clock a.m., doing an a.m. intro. I think the a.m. intros are more brief, so you can look forward to that. This is episode 111 of the Enormocast, a conversation with rock climber Brad Gobright. And the only business I have, a little bit of business, is that there's a chance. It's not 100%, so kind of debated whether even I'd talk about it, but it's getting close. So if it happens, I want you guys to know about it. So watch the Facebook page for confirmation. But there's a rumor that I'll be up in Devil's Lake for the Craggin Classic at the end of September. The American Alpine Club Craggin Classic, which is hard to get out of your mouth, Craggin Classic. But it's at the end of the month, September 30th, I believe, or the 29th or the 31st. Is there 31 days in September? I don't know. Look it up on the internet. It's at the end of the month. I've not sorted out all the details, but there's a good chance I'm showing up there. So again, Facebook page is where the information would become solid. Go anyway, whether I'm going there or not. If you live in the Midwest, I've been to a couple Craggin Classics, and they're good gatherings of the tribe. Very much climbing-oriented festival, not out of control, not too much crazy stuff going on at them usually. They're definitely just for climbers. So check that out. Just Google it. I'm sure there's like some link on the AAC website that gets you there. But Devil's Lake Craggin Classic. That's how to find it. All right. And again, check out the Facebook page. If I am going to be up there, I will confirm on that. But go anyway. I mean, you live in the Midwest, you got to go to a climbing festival that's like within 1,000 miles of you. I think it's just the way it works. All right. Brad Gobright, I've known for quite a few years. We go through the usual how did we meet talk in this thing. And the main thing that's important about my relationship with Brad is that I've admired this guy for quite some time. He was a young, super excited, super amped up climber when I met him, just sort of figuring it out, cutting his teeth on the road for the first time. And he's become quite accomplished, and very quietly so, I think. His name's been popping up here and there, especially with some crazy free solos that he's been doing and some speed climbing. But he is keeping the trad dream alive. And you know how I like that. You guys know that I like when younger climbers are keeping that dream alive. It's much more common to go down the sport and bouldering path for young climbers. So when somebody's out there taking big old whippers and fiddling in gear, I like that. I think it's impressive. It's an art. And sometimes it feels like it's a dying art, but then people like Brad Gobright pop up. The other key characteristic to Brad is that he just seems to be a happy guy, and he looks at climbing with psych and with joy. And, you know, he'd probably be embarrassed me saying that, but the joyfulness with which he approaches climbing is so refreshing. You know, he's not just weighed down by the meaning of it all. Is that a veiled insult? No, I don't think so. He's just overcome with psych, and he's in the prime of that kind of climbing. And it was just fun to sit down and talk to a guy who is that genuinely excited about climbing. So that's what we talk about. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Just sort of a light, fun conversation. Although we talk about some serious shit. But, you know, he doesn't dwell on it. Doesn't weigh on him. He just moves on. So that's awesome. All right, here we go. Conversation with Brad Gobright.
Hey folks, as you know, Black Diamond is one of the major sponsors of the Enormocast, and while the money they've handed me has disappeared into the dark hole of debauchery, they also hand money over to some important organizations, like the American Alpine Club, like the Access Fund, and like the Nature Conservancy, the people who control a major part of Indian Creek. So when you're spending your money on new gear, consider the fact that not only do they make great gear, but they're also trying to protect the places that you're going to use it. Black Diamond, proud sponsor of the Enormocast.
Orange County, right?
Orange County, yep.
Your mom still live there? You're talking to your mom today, right?
Yep, talking to the mom.
She's still down there?
Yeah, she's still down there. Yeah, the folks live there.
Are they together?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, they stuck it out.
Where specifically?
The city of Orange. It's kind of a little more inland near Santa Ana.
Yeah. I used to live in Costa Mesa.
Oh, cool, yeah. So
I kind of know the zone.
10 minutes from there.
Yeah.
Depending on traffic.
Did you ever climb there?
You, the Rock Creation?
Yeah.
Yeah, climb there. Yeah.
Yeah, I worked there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When did you work there?
I worked there. Well, maybe you were probably like riding your trike around still. 1990, like 96, I think.
That's right when I started going.
Really?
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was like 8. Yeah, that was the place to go back in the 90s.
Yeah, so you started going there when you were 8.
Yep.
Is that was your first climbing experience, or?
Yeah, well, I started climbing at the climbing wall in REI, off the 55 there.
Sure.
So, and then I was really into that, and then my parents took me to Rock Creation, and then started doing like the summer camp when I was a little kid.
Okay.
Did that whole thing. So, yeah.
So, you might have rolled right past me.
Yeah, no, probably. Yeah, you probably checked me in and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you seen Inertia?
No.
Inertia 1 and 2. Yeah, they. I'm in the first one, like doing the arch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as a little kid. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are the climbing movies? You think they're online?
No. Probably not.
Probably not. This is
not.
DVD days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you started climbing and you were in Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
Just this total suburb kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Growing up in the suburbs.
When did you sort of realize that you were gonna bolt and like hit the road and become a climbing bum?
That was in 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2008. I I kind of started going to like community college or like, like 13th grade, right? And like, and quickly just dropped out. Well, I had the plan to like go work in Yosemite,
right?
Which I did for summer and fall, and then I came back to attempt community college for another year, and then just quit after like a month and went back to Yosemite to work, cleaning rooms at the Ahwahnee Hotel.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Okay, stop.
Okay.
I'm gonna change one thing here.
Yeah, it was awful. It was great living in Yosemite, but that job was just
cleaning
hideous.
rooms.
Oof, really bad.
Really bad. Even at the Ahwahnee?
Even at the Ahwahnee.
All right.
Yeah. It's nasty. It was really bad. So, but it was cool. I could see Yosemite Falls from my little room.
I cleaned rooms actually for a little.
Yeah. So it's you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but it was I found that like because I did it here in Salt Lake actually at the Rustler in Alta.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it was a pretty like wealthy clientele, and so they didn't seem to get like you aren't finding needles and stuff. At least. But the Ahwahnee, it wasn't the same. It's just a grim job.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it wasn't as bad as like it wasn't finding needles or anything, but there was a lot of poop, pee, vomit, and other stuff.
So you lasted a season there, or did you make it through the season?
2 seasons. Oh, okay. 2 seasons. The second season was a bit longer, and then after that, I just kind of fully hit the road. I was full on Dirtbag.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of growing up in Orange County and your folks and their dreams for you, how were you? How did it go over that? Like, hey, I'm just gonna drop out of college and hit the road. Are they down with that? Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, they're more accepting of it now, but there were some moments where they weren't super stoked, but it wasn't too bad. They could see that I was like really happy with what I was doing. So, but there's a little bit of disappointment. I wanted to be a firefighter. That was kind of the big thing. And just after high school, I was like, I just want to rock climb.
Okay.
So
yeah, well, it's not too late to become a firefighter.
Yeah, probably not. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, well, this climbing thing will last forever. You'll be fine.
Yeah, right.
Totally.
I'll be climbing when I'm 70.
So when did we meet? Do you remember?
Yeah, probably through Mason, right? Mason
Earl, it was in. When were you guys down in the creek? You were fully ensconced in the creek.
Yeah,
it was a season. The three of us went up and did.
Winner takes all.
Winner takes all together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which was an awesome, fun day.
That was a fun day. Yeah,
that I recount lyrically.
Yep,
as it were.
Yeah, it was an on-site and 2 flashes.
Yeah, it was pretty rad. Yeah, it was like 1, 2, 3, and then we stopped climbing for the day.
Yep,
which was like. I remember us like going up there. We didn't warm up on anything.
Mm-hmm. I just went for it.
Just did it.
Mega flash pumped.
And then we were like, well, should we do one of these other routes up here? And we're all like, nah.
Yeah, screw it.
So
I think we went bouldering, right? Yeah. There's some boulders at the base.
And found like a bunch of petroglyphs and stuff.
Yeah. That was good.
Yeah. Well, do you remember about when that was? I can't.
I want to say it was 2010.
Yeah, it was probably around.
That was one of my first visits to the creek.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you were like fully cutting your teeth then still. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a good send.
Yeah. You like Mason floated it and you sent it and I was like, oh man, I gotta like perform now. So I feel like otherwise I would have just been like hanging up the whole thing.
I remember you had like the worst gobies on your tips in the world and you still kind
of went for it and a lot of blood.
I got a good picture of you like getting all aggro on it.
Yeah.
Because you're like in total pain.
Yeah.
So well, I'm glad we inspired you.
Yeah. That was good. That was really good.
It's rated 513 in the book.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, at the time, I was like, oh, yeah, I was full on 513. I was telling my friends,
Yeah, for sure.
But that's kind of the creek for you, I think. A lot of those splitters I don't know. It's just the same move over and over. If you can do the move and you have the endurance, you can probably send it.
Yeah. So anyway, but that was a good day. But also, I mean, I tend to make fun of you for this all the time. So one of these days, you're going to tell me to shut the fuck up. But I just, I mean, so I'm... obviously a lot older than you guys. I'm climbing in the creek a lot longer. Mm-hmm. And so I'm no longer like that guy that just shows up there and stays there.
Yeah.
And so I kind of was like, I sort of barnacled onto you guys' scene, like your picnic table with like piled, heaped high with all this crap.
Yeah.
And I just recall your habits, your nutritional habits,
They're
like
not
just
the
being
best.
shocking.
Yeah.
Like,
just
like
it's bad.
half a bowl of Fruit Loops and,
Yeah.
and like you were ready to go.
Yeah, Little Debbie's.
Yeah, Little
stuff.
Debbie's.
I mean, they're so cheap and
I
they
know.
taste so great.
Yeah.
I'm a little better now, but not too much.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, so I have a girlfriend, so that helps a lot.
Sure.
And then, I'm not quite as poor as I was then. And,
Okay.
And I'm kind of, getting older, so I can kind of feel it when I've had like just donuts for breakfast. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, and you've also like the big thing that's kind of fun and for me is that you've like come so far in your climbing since then. I mean, and it's only like 6 years.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just fun that I could go up and like, climb this route, and you're like, oh, now I have to climb it because he did it.
Yeah.
And I think those days are gone.
Yeah.
For us as a pair. I don't think it would go like that anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that's totally cool because, as like your name's popping up all over the internet or wherever, I hear about the stuff that you've been doing. It's like, yeah, man, I knew that kid when he was like just living in his car eating Fruit Loops and like
Fruit Loops,
figuring it out, like climbing in the creek and climbing your first 512s probably in the creek and then, this 513 quotes up there. But you went on to do some other hard stuff down there, that trip even.
Yeah.
So
Air Sweden was the big one. I really wanted to do it.
Oh, cool.
I don't think I sent it, but I took some big 45 footers on that one.
Really?
Yeah, it was good.
yeah. So where does that come from? Like,
That was Return to Sender.
Yeah.
Back when I was in high school,
Uh-huh.
I just watched that over and over and over, and that climb in particular just kind of stood out. The big run out, that was just fun.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but where did that, like, so you started climbing in gyms. I would assume you started climbing outdoors at the usual places, J Tree and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So where did that kind of head come from for you, do you think?
Well, it was the Masters of Stone videos. Growing up with those and just seeing guys like Dan Osman and like Ron Kauk and John Backer just doing all that, like, kind of those bold ascents. And,
Right.
I don't know, like I competed a little bit, but like the whole gym climbing thing was fun, but I really just wanted to get outdoors. And, I did quite a bit. Like my parents would take me to, Joshua Tree and places like that when I was growing up. But, no one in Orange County, no kid my age in Orange County rock climbs. So I wasn't really getting outside too much. And, but then in high school, I met someone who rock climbed, my buddy Dustin Bird, and he was also kind of into that like trad climbing thing. And we both got our licenses and started driving. And I mean, that's just kind of what we did was like Idlewild and Joshua Tree doing like the trad climbing thing. And,
Right.
The big dreams were in, Yosemite and Moab and places like that. So
Dustin, he was out there too, wasn't he, on that trip?
yeah, I think he was. Yeah.
Totally. I remember that cat too. Right.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So let's go on to like, or let's go on this path of, I mean, not just trad climbing, but like, being willing to take these giant whippers.
Yeah.
And you've also gone on to do quite a bit of free soloing.
Yeah.
And again, like in terms of the way you started climbing, the way you approach climbing, like when did you sort of discover that part of you, and like what, how did it kind of manifest itself when you first started soloing and because not every climber's got that. Like it's definitely, I always say that most, at least dude climbers, I can't speak for the ladies, but go through at least a short phase of like free soloing, if not super easy routes, at least, getting up towards, maybe like their limit, but not quite their limit. But it's usually kind of short-lived for most guys. Yeah. So what does that look like in terms of, realizing that's something that you're into and pushing that kind of thing? Yeah.
Well, for the free soloing, I think it was more just because I just, it's a good way to just go rock climbing a bunch, so when you're, you get up in the morning and you can't find someone to climb with, you could just go free solo a bunch of stuff and you get a lot done, and when you're just by yourself, like running laps and, places like Joshua Tree or, Eldo especially is awesome for free soloing. And,
no, it's not.
Yeah. Well, matter of opinion, I guess.
Joshua Tree has always been like the land of free soloing.
It is really good. Yeah.
Like up and down, short little routes.
Yeah, they're all like kind of close together.
Yeah, and
just wandering the desert.
Not a ton of commitment. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. Eldo, I know that's where you've done a lot of rad stuff without a rope and with a rope. Mm-hmm. And maybe I have this like, that's where I started trad climbing. Yeah. And so, for like 2 years, every time we went there, we like got terrified. Yeah. And so I think I have this like psychosomatic reaction when I walk in there of like being sort of gripped.
Yeah, it's a scary place to climb.
And it's like slippery, man.
Yeah, there's some slippery rock.
Yeah,
definitely.
So, anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's fine. But yeah, I don't know. Just like it's the trad, like doing runouts and stuff was, I think just came from those videos. It's just like, I don't know. It's always kind of what fascinated me. Right. And when I got out of high school, it was like I think Air Sweden was like one of the first kind of big run out climbs I did, and I just had so much fun on it. And I'm like, oh, I'm finally trying this climb that I was so inspired by, when I was younger. And so yeah, and it's just kind of stayed with me, I guess. Right. Doing those trad climbs, crack climbs, and
right. Yeah, and I've seen some videos of you like doing some hard stuff. Yeah. That's sort of terrifying.
Yeah.
So what give us a little bit of a thought process. I've talked to a few soloists about it, but I've talked to Honnold, and he's sort of the kingpin of free soloing. Absolutely. And he's got a very unique personality. Mm-hmm. I think he's, at least on the surface, seems quite a bit different than you. Mm-hmm. But what are you sort of thinking about when you're thinking like, especially it seems like free soloing pretty close to your limit, or is that a
well, I feel like when I'm like some of the harder solos I've done, I've like climbed them so many times, right. And by the time I'm like, I have them so wired that they feel like super moderate,
right?
Usually when I'm soloing, it's because I just want to go out climbing, right. And but there have been a few like kind of bigger ones where I've thought about it, and I was like, well, that would be kind of a good one to like work up to, and right. And yeah, it's kind of what I've done. Like, Hairstyles and Attitudes in Eldo, I climbed that thing about 50 times before actually soloing it.
Right.
It was one of those climbs I'd always throw a rope down and run laps on just for the fitness. And finally I was like, man, I can do this like with my eyes closed without climbing shoes, Right. And so I was like, I'm gonna just solo it. It'd never been soloed before, so
sure.
Yeah. I haven't been too into it right now though.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, now, did your accident happen with or without a rope?
Oh, that was with a rope.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure because I guess I don't know why I saw all the stuff post and never really heard the story. So as long as we're talking about it, let's seg into that. So you this was last year?
Last year, yeah. Yeah, well, so I was having like a full on like kind of danger season, I guess you could say. Like, I don't know, the free soloing I was really into it. I was soloing the Naked Edge every few days. Like, I could go door to door in like under an hour from where I was living in Boulder.
Okay.
And then there were a few kind of harder trad climbs I hadn't done yet that, before I came to Boulder and in the summer, I was like, I'm going to do those.
That was like one of my first 511 leads.
Oh, yeah.
Multi-pitch.
Okay.
So like you telling me that, I know it's like, I know it's a pretty common free solo for a lot of people, but it just automatically like makes my palms sweat. Like it terrifies me.
Yeah, there's a few spots.
And I know you've done like way harder, but I don't know. It's just those like,
Yeah, there's a few moves that are, you got to kind of get the beta down before going for it.
You're not recommending it.
Well, I guess I don't recommend soloing to anyone. But,
right. So anyway, you got your danger season going.
Yeah, and it was just kind of building up to this climb that I like broke my back on, and the whole time Cedar's filming it. Cedar's got he's gonna do some video on all this climbing, and so it's perfect. We got some awesome footage of me breaking my back, so that'll be really cool to watch, and. Yeah, it was like the season was coming to an end. It was getting really cold, and some bad weather was coming in. And I thought Castle Rock was going to close for falcons. It doesn't, but I thought it did at the time. And I was like, man, if I'm going to do this, I got to do it soon. And I'd worked out the super run out kind of dangerous part a whole lot, and like knew what I was going to do if I did come off. Like I had the way I was going to fall, and the gear was right, and I felt ready. But then there's this really tough boulder problem in the beginning that's only protected by this nasty cam placement, but it was only like 15 feet off the ground, so I didn't really put a whole ton of thought into it. And so I went for it, and sure enough, like I came off, the cam popped and landed on my butt. Well, first I landed on my ankle, that broke, and then I landed on my butt and just compressed 2 of my vertebrae. Which, it didn't actually hurt super bad. I felt it. I felt like the spine kind of shrink a little bit there. And I was rolling around on the ground, like, cursing, but like, it wasn't actually that painful. Okay. Surprisingly, I thought like a back break would be really painful. My ankle actually hurt a lot more. So, and I actually chipped a bone in my elbow, which I didn't even realize till I was out of the hospital.
Okay. So, is it still in there?
I don't really feel it.
They say they break down.
Yeah. I feel like that's maybe what happened. Yeah. It's kind of weird.
Did you have anyone look at it?
I didn't even tell the doctor. I was like, screw it. It's just going to be like more bills coming in the mail. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably gone. You're probably fine.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
I could cut it out for you.
Yeah, just
after the show here. Yeah. I got my Swiss Army knife.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, how much do you charge?
Well, we'll see. Yeah. So let's talk about that. The recovery. I mean, were you once you're in the hospital and they told you have these compressed vertebrae? Yeah. Yeah. So what was there? I mean, I get so many stories from climbers who break anything, and at some point the doctor like just assures them they're never going to climb again. Like it just seems like that's always part of these stories. Did you get that at all?
He was, the doctor was like, yeah, you should be good to go in like 3 months. And okay. I was like, man, this guy might not really know what rock climbing, really is. And, right. I'm like, doing like big whippers and stuff. So I was like, oh, maybe not. But surprisingly, the back healed super fast. Like I had the back brace on for 5 weeks. And I took it off, and I started doing like Hanes, like dead Hanes and stuff on the Hane board. Right. After like 2 weeks, and it healed really quick. And so I started. I went to after 2 months. I went to the valley and started climbing again. That's kind of when I started climbing outside again, and it kind of hurt a little bit maybe, but not really. And now at this point, it just like, I don't feel anything. Right. I took a big whipper in Smith Rock a few weeks ago, and I kind of felt something, but after a day it went away. And then, the ankle kind of took a little longer. Right. So yeah, I think I kind of lucked out.
Yeah. It seems like you kind of shook it off a little bit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was cool.
Did it fuck with your head at all?
Well, and man, I was raging in Yosemite. I like it first, like the first couple runs up El Cap were like a little frightening. But after a while I was used to it. And now I'm in Squamish kind of doing some, like free climbing, like single pitch free climbing. And that's a little scary. I don't know, like doing, like taking whips on gear. Like I was on a real famous route called 69, and you could take some good whips on this little nut, and it was terrifying. So I actually just ended up like not doing it because it was kind of scary. So
okay, yeah. So it is in there maybe a little bit.
Yeah, it's still in there, definitely. It's kind of going away though. Right. I don't know. I took a really big whip on the Shadow, really famous corner. I was like 5 feet from the top and took this big whip into the corner, and it was totally fun. My back didn't hurt or anything, and I was like, all right, that wasn't too bad. So, nice. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, like it can. I mean, really bad accidents like that, not only physically but also mentally, can totally whack people out for a while.
Well, I'll tell you, I've not been that stoked on free soloing. I don't know. Okay. I actually, man, I don't know. I shouldn't tell the story. Maybe I actually, the first time I've ever been like kind of sketch soloing was in like a week ago in Squamish, and I just jumped on this like 510 in the Smoke Bluffs, and it was kind of, the rock was really hot, and I was kind of like a little tired maybe, and I just told me and my girlfriend were climbing. I'm like, I'm gonna run up this one really quick, and she was just like, whatever, I'll just draw, because she's watched me solo a lot before, and it was like, I don't know, it was weird. So I just wasn't feeling very secure. Like the rock was kind of hot, so my rubber wasn't sticking great. And it was kind of like I was chilling up there for quite a while, chalking my hands over and over, and finally just did it. And, I'm sure it wasn't a big deal, but like in my head, it was like, man, that's the first time I've ever like been free soloing and like kind of like, whoa, this is kind of dangerous. And like I got down and my girlfriend like had her hand on her mouth with her eyes all huge. She's like, you looked so sketchy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
and then
she could see it too. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Wow.
apparently there were these folks right near her who were like saying like, dude, that guy looks sketchy. He's going to die. That's stupid. Yeah. So.
All right. So you're getting a little feedback from the universe.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird.
Right.
So that was, I haven't really been doing much free soloing. So
Are you good at backing off? I mean, can you down climb these things?
yeah, I haven't really done much backing off because usually I'm like totally secure when I'm going for it. And on that one, you're doing kind of a weird sequence of moves right off the ground, and you kind of step up onto the climb, and you're immediately like kind of exposed above the ground because you step off a boulder.
Right.
And right away, I was like, I pulled that move, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to down climb that. I definitely go into the top because that'd be safer. So that kind of messed with my head a little bit.
Sure. Right.
And
yeah.
So yeah, I guess I already went in there like, ooh, this kind of sucks. I'm not going to be able to down climb that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was before that. It wasn't so much I was like nervous to go solo. I just haven't been that psyched on it. Right. And now I'm like kind of nervous to go solo. So screw free soloing. Yeah.
Oh well,
screw it.
I'm sure your girlfriend will be happy.
Yeah.
If you stop.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think. I mean, geez, I mean, soloing. I think is so much more in our sort of purview now. I mean, thanks to Honnold.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's like, wow, we're all super amazed at what he does. I think in a lot of ways it's also like, I don't know, like kind of dulled our like amazement at the same time.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And because I mean, in years past, and Eldo's always been a place where people solo forever. There's been
it's a real famous spot for that.
But it's always made me nervous.
Yeah, there's a lot of people going in there with just their chalk bags nowadays.
And it makes me nervous to see it because you don't know the person. It's not like I know it's you and I'm like, okay, I've seen him free solo, videos, this and that. That's way easy. You don't have that assessment.
Yeah.
And there's and Boulder in particular has got like, there's a lot of bro climbers there. So
the Bastille crack is like really easy. And then there's like these really sandbag like 5.7 or 5.8 moves at the very top,
right?
So
yeah,
I don't know, one of these days.
Well, but yeah, and I've also when I have had my stints of free soloing, like I said, all guys do almost, and it was some in J Tree because it's just I don't know, it just feels obvious to eventually climb some of those things without a rope on to me. And then I used to do big routes in the park in Rocky Mountain National Park when I was guiding up there.
Oh, cool! Yeah,
and that was also that same thing of like, well, I can go and do Hallets and be back down here like by lunch.
Yeah, no, totally.
After,
you can climb so much quicker. It's so much fun. Yeah, just some like Cliff Bar in your pocket.
But the other thing is I never liked to be seen doing it.
Yeah.
Like for some reason, if I knew someone was there, because a lot of times they would get concerned. Yeah. Because again, this was like, I think it's common now too, but it was a while back, and to see someone free soloing was pretty rare.
Yeah.
And plus you're soloing a lot, or I was soloing like on Lumpy Ridge on a lot of easy routes. And so you're around sort of the beginner, intermediate climbers, and they get really freaked out.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's the group that like, it's like, whoa, dude, that's badass. And then there's like the other group that like, they don't even say anything. Like they barely even notice you. And then there's the group where they're kind of pissed off, like I don't know what the deal is. They're just like kind of angry.
Because you're being irresponsible.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, and you're upsetting them, and they feel like, well, if you fall, then I'm gonna have to go like deal with your ragged body or whatever, I mean, because I've felt that way when I see people doing really sketchy shit with a rope. Like I'm like, let's get out of here before we're like involved. In what's about to happen?
Like those guys at the smoke gloss, I guess that's what they did.
Yeah, they were probably just like, oh man, let's get out of here. Yeah, before this guy hits the ground and we have to help. Yeah. I mean, it's weird, but I guess I don't know why I'm bringing that up. I was just wondering if any of that stuff plays into your ideas. I mean, shoot, you've been shot on film doing it.
Yeah. I guess that was kind of weird getting into that. Like this season when Cedar was filming, I kind of already had all these objectives, and he came to me, he was like, yeah, man, it'd be fun to do a film. And he's like, if there's any like cool climbs, I kind of want to make a film on free soloing, and I thought you'd be a good person to come to. And I was like, well, yeah, I've got these climbs that if you guys want to be there to film it, you can. And I don't know, I feel like it didn't really mess with my head at all. So. Okay. Yeah.
Have you ever been filmed with a drone while free soloing?
Yeah. Yes, Cedar got busted for it.
Oh, really?
In Aldo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, guy with a megaphone came up and was telling us we had to come down to get our ticket.
It's illegal to use a drone in
Aldo. In a state park, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Those fucking things. They drive me nuts. Like, there's no way I could free solo with one of those things.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, it's going to get out of control and come and cut me to pieces with its little blades.
Oh, that'd be a bad way to go.
Think about that next time there's a drone above you.
Yeah.
There you go. You're welcome. I don't think they're that dangerous to run into you, though.
Yeah, they seem really light.
Yeah. So, anyway, but it could happen. Just cut you to pieces. Yeah. So, well, let's move on then to we're talking about your El Cap. I mean, that's kind of like your jam out there in Yosemite.
Yeah.
And you just recently did 3 routes on El Cap in a day.
Yep. Yeah.
And by hook or by crook, or were you free climbing?
I was doing all the free climbing and sometimes French freeing, whatever was easiest. And then Scott Bennett, the guy I was doing it with, was doing all the more technical aid climbing. So,
what'd you guys do?
We started on Zodiac at 2 p.m. and then climbed the nose at night. And the Lurking Fear in the morning. Finished at 1 something. So,
do you keep meticulous times when you're doing your 1 days on there? Me and this guy Jim Reynolds, we did the nose I think 4 times together that season, and we were kind of cutting off an hour each time. And so by the end we were kind of doing that, really looking at our times, and it was cool to be cutting off so much time each time. And actually, the last day I was in the valley, we were talking about trying to do it really fast, and I actually called Honnold and got all his beta that him and Hans had, and he seemed stoked to give it to me. And I told Jim, I'm like, dude, I'm ready for this. If you want to do this, we should do it. I'd climbed the nose, I think 8 or 9 times that season, and so I think we were both really ready to go. And last minute, he's like, man, I don't know, it just seems kind of full on, and I'm sort of burnt out, and it's probably a good thing. And I was like, well, maybe next season or something. So you mentioned maybe being a little burnt out.
By the end I was kind of getting burned out. I could have kept going. I wasn't that burned out.
Sure.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I had spent 2 months not climbing, and the energy was so high when I got to the valley, and man, it was just raging and just being psyched the whole time. And doing the nose fast is the most enjoyable thing I think I've done in climbing. Really? It's just so enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge hole in my resume.
Oh, you gotta go do it.
I've never climbed the nose at all.
You gotta do it. It's so much fun. Yeah. It's not that bad. It really isn't.
And I think my personal, we were joking earlier, I think my personal El Cap speed record's 5 days.
5 days. So, dude, that's way harder than doing it in a day. You gotta haul all that crap up there. Ugh.
It is. You're right. It's funny because it's it's just such this humongous shift in perspective. Those guys were speed climbing. It was kind of starting when I was there climbing. I was just still doing the gnar. Yeah. The slow boat to China kind of routes.
Kind of tougher aid routes.
But but the flip in just approach and kind of, and it's not even just logistically the approach, but the attitude. Yeah. It's it's pretty amazing actually. I mean, Warren Harding, I would probably lose his mind to know that shit's been done in a couple and a half hours or whatever. Yeah. So let's go back to your threesome. Your Did you guys have some sort of good marketing name for it?
Oh, not yet.
No,
I don't know. We'll see.
The threesome would be pretty cool. Yeah, the hot summer threesome.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing. We're just spitballing here.
Yeah. Get these good ideas.
Yeah. Just bring that back to Grammici.
Yeah. They'd be stoked on something like that. Well, so originally I was before I broke my back, I had these plans for free climbing, but then after I broke my back, I was man, I'm like really out of shape for that kind of thing. And I tried to do Golden Gate in a day when I first got to the valley, and that was like one of my first climbs that I did after like the injury. And I was like fully healed by that point, but like, man, my fitness was just like, my free climbing fitness was kind of gone. So I figured my season for that was kind of shot. But Dave Alfrey actually came to me to try to like talk about doing the link up, but he injured his finger and he had a bunch going on. So I went to Scott Bennett came out for a few days to climb the nose with his girlfriend, and he was about to leave. And I'm like, dude, just stay like another few days and we'll do this triple link up. And Scott's like extremely motivated, and he's the guy I go to for like these speed climb triple link ups. And like, you know, I called him once from Zion. I'm like, dude, you should come out here. You know, he was in Boulder. I'm like, you should come out here and we'll do this like quadruple link up. And he was like, all right, dude, I'll be there tomorrow. I'm going to get a ticket. I'll be there tomorrow. And, you know, so he does that kind of stuff. And sure enough, he was like, yeah, I'll stay another few days and we'll do this. And sure enough, we did Zodiac once together to kind of get that one wired, and then just went for it, and it all worked out. So.
What was the time in the end about?
It was like 23 minutes, and it was like just over 23, or I'm sorry, hours. 23 hours. So we didn't do it in 23 minutes. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. But so Zodiac went really quick, and then the nose was a little slower, and then Lurking Fear was just kind of like, we were both sort of zoned out and just going through the motions of it. And I think the crux for me was just staying awake. I was awake for 37 hours for that whole deal. And by the upper half of Lurking Fear, I was just exhausted. Like the body was kind of worked, but man, I was just sleepy. I just wanted to sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
So how much risk you think is involved with that? Do you guys ever feel like out there, or you just got it? Or are you just cruising?
Well, I feel like as we were getting more tired, I feel the Lurking Fear was probably the most risky.
Right.
I was like doing a lot of French freeing on the steep cracks. Like the free climbing, I was doing less free climbing just because I was so tired. And like they're like dead vertical 512 cracks that I just was not going to be, pulling free moves on. So it was like free climbing, or I was French freeing with the cams and just getting really run out to try to save the cam. We had a pretty light rack. And,
because it's pretty uniform, those pitches, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, there's this one pitch. It's like almost entirely number 4s. And I had done Lurking Fear before, and I remembered it as number 3s. So we took a number 3. I'm like, I'll just walk it the whole way, but it's number 4s. And so I had to do the entire pitch with no gear. There's like a piton in the beginning, and oh man. And number 4s aren't like super casual, or at least for me. I don't know. I kind of put forth a lot of energy to climb those things, and it's pretty steep, and I was really tired. And so yeah, that was a good time.
So you have been free soloing. You just happen to have a rope on.
Yeah, that's happened. Yeah.
So when you guys, you said you talked to Honnold about like his beta for the nose.
Yeah.
And you said you did it 4 times with Jim?
I think it was 4 times. Yeah.
Yeah. What were your times about in that?
We did like 7.5, 6.5, 5.5, 4.5.
Right.
So the last time we had was 4.5.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to give away the secret, but like, what are just a couple things that, how do you possibly?
Yeah. Well, simul climbing. Is big. And then I always go to the Great Roof. That's like my chunk, and then Jim would take over to the top, and I know like every single piece of gear. So knowing like really getting it wired, like all the holds, and like knowing where I'm going to put each cam and stuff like that it was big, and I would even kind of like arrange it on my harness like that in that way. And,
sure.
So I think simul climbing really helps, and short fixing is nice, but like the simul climbing just kind of goes really fast. And,
sure.
Having little micro tractions here and there for extra safety is nice. So. Right.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I've talked to a few people about that. Someday I got to at least climb it. In 24 hours.
Yeah, no, you should. Yeah. You really should. You'll see how much easier it is than doing it in like 4 days.
Well, I would never do it overnight. Yeah. Those days are gone for me. So
God, they're brutal. The only overnight missions I've ever done on El Cap were with Mason on the Heart Route, and it's just like hauling sucks. So
yeah, well, let's talk about that. You had a multi-pitch or a multi-year project, free climbing on El Cap with Mason Earl.
Yep. That was I think it was like. We had 2 seasons where we were like trying it, or maybe 3. And then we kind of took a break. Well, we gave up. We were like, it's just like too much work. And then, the Dawn Wall came. And Mason like called me and he was like, let's do it, man. Let's go do it. And I was like, oh, because of the dawn wall. And he's like, no. I just want to do it. So it was totally the dawn wall. That's why he wanted to he got motivated by that, I think. And so we went back in last year and we did it. Yeah. I think we were both like quite a bit stronger. Mm-hmm. And I didn't though.
Right.
There was like 10 feet where it was like a dyno where Mason would like extend himself off these cramps and like kind of get his toes onto these smears, and then from the smears kind of jump over to this jug, and I just like couldn't quite reach those smears with my toes, and tried to like work out a ultra difficult slab bit like lower down, but it was like totally not going to happen, and so I just gave up and kind of did a little swing over to that jug.
Right.
It's kind of a bummer. Yeah, but whatever. It was good.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah. And so did the president call you, or did you guys get
Obama didn't call, man.
No?
We were waiting for it, you know.
You're like, hey, Donwall, check it out. We just freed El Cap. Like, does anyone care?
I don't know, yeah.
Is the New York Times gonna call us any minute? Is that what's gonna happen next?
Where are all the reporter trucks and stuff?
Oh well.
We just weren't around.
Oh well. Is it a good route?
It is good. Yeah. There's, like a little bit of cleanup probably still needs to be done here and there, but it's like the pitches after the heart roof. There's like, the heart formation, like the heart shape, and then it goes out of the far left side of the heart, and like coming out of the heart, and then those pitches above it are just spectacular. They're really steep. The rock's good, and it's fun. Yeah, the roof pitch especially is, I think, just really good.
So
yeah.
So what do you think the potential? I think people keep wondering if, stuff's running out on El Cap for free climbing. What do you think?
There's not as much as there was like 10 years ago,
right.
But I don't know. I'm hearing about little things here and there. Like, him and Nick Berry are trying to do Neverland.
Yeah, they're over on the left side.
Yeah, it looks amazing. It looks really cool. So Jim Reynolds and I climbed the South and the Nose in a day, and we wrapped their lines. They had lines going all the way up the route, and so we wrapped those, and I got to check it out, and it looks incredible. I think there's going to be this really run out like 514 pitch on it though. Like maybe I think it's the Crux 8 pitch on that route. But oh man, it's like the splitter seam, and it looks like there's just enough holds for it to go, and it looks really cool.
That's cool.
So. And then like I've heard of stuff kind of near the mirror wall that might go. It seems like the right side definitely probably still has potential. There's a lot of like holds and stuff over there.
Yeah, but the problem seems to be, I think, is the sort of, stick in the mud of not adding bolts.
Yeah, it's tough.
A-lines.
It's really tough. Yeah.
Because like literally I've hooked out pitches over there, and you're hooking on edges that are bomber, and they're relatively large. Yeah. I know there's, and I've talked, the aid rant aside, most of the hooking you do on El Cap are not on the tiny crystals that supposedly exist up there, with the exception of Wings of Steel, I think. Yeah. But most of the time, especially on the right side, because it's steep, you're on pretty big bomber edges when you're hooking. Yeah. You're just going forever without any protection.
Yeah, just copperheads. Yeah.
Or nothing.
Nothing.
Or
just
when you're
nothing.
like doing like smooth hooking.
Yeah.
But every one of those hook moves is like a handhold. Yeah. But what are you supposed to do with that?
Yeah, I guess just run it out. I don't know. Yeah.
I think that's like easy to say, but these are like some serious runouts,
Yeah.
And it's a bummer because it's like, I don't know, this is the place to get into it, but like this reverence for the past, like this sanctity of all that, like it definitely sometimes gets under my skin a little bit because it's like, oh, it's closed now. It's like, I don't know. It was like if we were all still, driving Model Ts and like no one was allowed to drive a Lexus. Yeah. It kind of bums me out. Like, because there's definitely potential for some wild, crazy stuff over there. But what are you going to do? Yeah.
Well, I forget what the aid route's called, but there's like the Huber version of the Zodiac. It's got this gnarly A5 route going up through it, and it kind of shares a little bit of climbing for a minute on these like copperheads, and it's like, man, the climbing would be really good, like you were saying, but I'm not gonna like clip into just copperheads the whole way. So,
right, especially if it's like 514 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe someday, right? And that's what the other side says. Like maybe someday they'll people will be able to climb that well, and we have to sort of leave it for them.
Yeah.
I don't know though. It's pretty rough.
Yeah.
So, have you ever free climbed the Zodiac?
No. I think that nipple pitch is supposed to be really hard.
Has anybody repeated it?
Yeah. Let's see who's done it. Well, Tommy's done it,
Right.
and the Hoobers have done it, and I don't know, someone else did it. I should probably know who, but I forget. Nick Berry tried it, and he said like the smears for the nipple pitch are like just heinous, and you can't see where you're like crimping under the nipple because your head's like above it, so you gotta like remember where your hands go.
You can't see where you're.
And then of course you gotta like pre-place like knife blades up in there or something like that. So it just seems like kind of a process to do that pitch.
Right.
But it looks cool.
Yeah.
It does look really cool. So yeah, the Hoobers got some cool stuff. I really want to go to El Corzone.
Right.
Yeah.
They had like the open canvas to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You know, those guys like they're the ones who flipped that mentality about free climbing up there. You know, like 100% it was those guys.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, like Todd and Paul 10 years earlier and Lynn, like it didn't flip the mentality the way that the Hubers did. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think with Lynn, it was just, everybody just was like, well, she's superhuman and I can't be like her. Yeah. So I'll just keep aid climbing these things. Yeah. But for some reason, everybody said, all right, those guys are doing it. Other people can go up there and start doing it as well. Yeah. So maybe because they lived amongst the little people in Camp 4 more so, right? Yeah. Yeah. Sort of showed them the way, but so what's your? I mean, you're like into super speed climbing, but you're also into trying to free these routes as well.
Yeah, well, this season I was kind of more into the speed climbing stuff, but I'm hoping next season it'll be more like focused on free climbing. I'm like, that's kind of why I'm in Squamish right now, just to get back in shape. But speed climbing's fun. Like doing the naked edge with Scott is super fun. It's like just a quick little.
Like you guys have been. It's like your nose, like you've been like whittling seconds off of it.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. Yeah. It really is. It's like running up the approach and like climbing shoes and just doing all that kind of stuff. But honestly, I wish it was just the climb that had the record, not like the stupid approach and descent where you're like,
who decided that?
I don't even know. Probably Scott.
Oh,
but yeah, you're like. You gotta like run down. You gotta run down that stupid descent. And, you're like stumbling and like falling back, and like it's just you kind of gotta use that like gravity just to take you down that descent, and it sucks. And doing it in climbing shoes is just no fun. But the climbing is actually incredible. Like doing it so fast like that. So yeah, it's fun. But and then doing it on the nose is just
so when
awesome.
You've got the car to car, is that?
Yeah, bridge to bridge. There's the bridge. You cross
right.
the bridge there. Yeah,
right. So
you got to start on. You got to start on the plaque. Like in the middle of the bridge, and then the timer starts.
It's the plaque in the middle of the bridge.
Yeah.
Now, are you the only two playing this game, or are there other people?
No. It's Stefan, Jason Wells, and Stefan. Yeah, I'm spacing on his last name. Right. I should totally know it. That's kind of dumb. But they actually have the record now. They
Oh really?
Yeah. They took it back from us, and which surprises me because they're both like family men,
Uh-huh.
And I thought like after we retook it from them, I was like, yeah, they're not gonna take it, and then they actually took off like 20 seconds. So,
really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if Scott and I will try it again. I mean, I'm not living in Boulder anymore, so
right.
Yeah, maybe I'll go back and try to grab it again, but I don't know.
How fast is it?
Let's see. It's like 24 minutes and 23 seconds, I think. Yeah. 20 something. But yeah, right. they took off a good chunk of time. We had it at 24:57, so just under 25 minutes. And yeah, it's getting hard to take off bits of time,
Sure.
Your rope kind of gets stuck for a second and you're screwed.
You're done.
You may as well just give up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's so fun. It's actually, I never really thought about it, but it is like this like super micro version of the nose.
Yep.
Where you guys are like literally down to like, well, we're 2 seconds faster than you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys are going to have to get some sort of like laser computer. Maybe like a little like the
just to make sure it's like
so like
accurate.
when you break the laser running across from the bridge, that's when the clock starts.
That's when it starts.
Because if because you're talking about, like, I just read that piece in Rock and Ice about Hans realizing that to stop his stopwatch took him like 7 seconds.
Oh,
because he would put it, like, it was something about putting it into a different mode so he didn't knock it while he was climbing and shut it off.
Oh, that would be a bummer.
So to get it out of that mode and then shut it off
Yeah.
took him 7 seconds. And
Yeah.
Honnold was like, dude, that's a waste of time.
Yeah.
But it really would be a huge,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I think like Alex was saying, like Hans is actually kind of more into like placing a good amount of gear and like keeping it safe, and then Hans was like, dude, that takes too long.
Yeah.
He's just going up there with a few cams, and so I think he was like leading most of it. So.
Yeah, they figured it out. It's there's he just came out with a book, Hans did.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Or it's about to come out. And they excerpted a chapter in the magazine this month. And yeah, he talks about that. Like, Honnold's like, you can't bring all that gear.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, but I want it.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, cool. So I have another question for you, because you were like a full, like, dedicated road bum when I met you.
Yep.
Like, saving pennies by eating Little Debbie's.
Yeah.
You were in some pretty crappy car.
Oh yeah, I still am.
Okay.
Yeah, still driving that guy. The '94 Civic hatchback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
still rolling.
that's a good gas mileage rig.
Yeah.
So
you can't sleep in it very well.
Yeah.
I mean, I have, and it really sucks.
Yeah.
But it's good gas mileage, and I can keep all my stuff in there. But I feel like I'm a little less dirtbag.
Right.
You
you have a girlfriend.
I've got a girlfriend now, so
That's a big
that helps.
leap.
That is a big leap. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We actually had a house together in Vegas. So I was living in a house.
Bourgeois.
Yeah. Yeah. It was nice. It was incredible, actually. It was so much fun. We were paying $200 a month. Yeah. We had 2 other roommates, and it was a great deal. 15 minutes from Red Rocks.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm still a kind of a climbing bum, but not as much.
Well, what I wanted to ask you is that you've done this kind of little bit of a movement into professional climber. You're here at the trade show, and one of your main guys, the folks that brought you here, is Grimici.
Grimici, yeah.
So when did that come up, and when did you sort of say, well, gosh, maybe I could keep this
do
up?
this?
Yeah.
Well, Grimici came to me after the Outside article came out, like online, about I think mostly about that Hairstyles and Attitudes ascent in Eldo. And so he Canuto, the head guy there, came to me with an email, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, for sure, And yeah, we talked. He flew me out to LA, and we had this real official meeting, and yeah, so it's happening.
That was it.
You
didn't go looking.
No. Yeah, it just seemed like a pretty good deal. I'm Canuto's an awesome guy. I mean, he's my boss, but he's also a good friend. And I met everyone at the company, and it's kind of a smaller company, and it's I've met everyone there, and they got a good deal going. So, it's cool. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm psyched. Yeah, we're all pretty stoked.
I mean, that doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
Where you kind of don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
To at least get the contact. You don't have to hustle too hard.
Yeah, I really didn't. It was cool.
Right.
Yeah, he just came to me. It was awesome. Yeah.
Nice.
So, they hired Shane Lempe and Ben Ditto to shoot the triple link up, and they're going to come out with a little film on it. And
cool.
Yeah, so we're doing some work together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, was it helpful that you were a California kid? Or did it matter? Because aren't they California kind of California?
Yeah. They're kind of more or less based out of LA.
Right.
Yeah,
okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that really did anything for me.
Uh-huh.
Dan Krause, a good buddy of mine, a photographer, he shot photos for them, and he kind of put me in touch with, or he dropped my name to Canuto, and then Canuto emailed me. So yeah, I definitely owe Dan big for that. So
right on.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, you kind of seem like a little bit sort of seat of your pants kind of guy. And so what's going on now? You're sort of on the Grimici's team, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You're up in Squamish at the moment.
Up in Squamish, yeah.
So, you've got some films coming out. You're You're on the like cusp of being a climbing superstar.
Well, yeah. I mean, these dudes from Rock and Ice came out too, and I'm not 100% sure if it's going to happen yet, but they got some amazing photos. They sent a writer out there, and they're going to possibly do like a multi-page spread. And I was like, whoa, cool. And so that'll be awesome. That's going to come out like in the winter, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Squamish is awesome. And then I'm going to live in Vegas again for the winter.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, Talene, my girlfriend, she does like graphic design, and she's like an amazing artist. So she's kind of doing her own like passionate career thing she's got going. And yeah, so we're both pretty stoked.
Damn.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Living the damn dream.
Living the dream. Yeah. Still definitely kind of dirtbagging, but with a little bit of a higher class dirtbag now.
Yeah. So I guess we'll wrap this up with asking you: is this like legitimizing anything with your folks?
Yeah, I think they're more psyched. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not going to be doing this when I'm like 40, so I got to figure out something to do. But yeah, they're psyched. They're really psyched. Yeah. Yeah, they're actually coming up to Squamish. I'm going to show them around. So,
cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, cool, Brad.
Yeah.
Thanks for sitting down,
I'm psyched
man.
to finally do this with you.
I know we've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah. I listened to like I listened to 6 of these on the way up to Squamish. So.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not good, dude.
Yeah.
You gotta cut it off.
Yeah.
There, so.
Yeah. By the end, I was kind of a little fried,
Yeah.
but it was good. So.
The theme song comes on, you're like, oh god.
Hey man, what's going on?
He's
tonight?
gonna spray for 5 minutes about nothing, and then
the
I get to listen.
Enormocast, man. Wow, that's a big place.
You know what that's from?
What?
This is Spinal Tap, a movie that came out before you were born.
Okay.
Yeah,
Huh.
so
Cool.
anyway.
Yeah, I like that.
Cool. Well, thanks for sitting down.
All right. Cool, man. Good talking to you.
All right. Thanks for listening, and thanks to Brad for sitting down. You see what I mean? You guys feel better about climbing right now, don't you? Don't you feel like, man, sounds like a lot of fun what he does. Sounds like a lot of fun. Maybe not the soloing or the hitting the ground. That doesn't sound like that much fun. But the whole vibe. His zeitgeist, his milieu, if you will. His gestalt is fun. Can a gestalt be fun? I don't know. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah. Remember that if you want to help out the Enormocast, there's easy ways to do so. Go to enormocast.com and click on the Help Out tab. Bunch of stuff you can do to help out with the promotion of this project. Used to be a little project. Now it's actually kind of a big project. Also remember that if you care to donate, the listeners are still the main financial backer of this thing called the Enormocast. If you have been listening, if it's been getting you through the boring parts of your day, the parts of life that we have to do, but we don't really want to, then consider kicking down a little bit something for it. Whatever you feel like handing the Enormocast would be awesome. Just click on the donate button at the website and get into it. All right. It's been cool here in the morning in Colorado for the last couple weeks, maybe about a week really. But that's good. That just is the harbinger of the good climbing conditions. I don't know what it's like where you are, but we're rolling into the fall, which most climbers I know, when you talk about fall, their eyes roll back in their head a little bit and they get sort of a wistful look on their face. So that's coming up, folks. And remember, as you're getting out there, getting after it, work on your safety. Signals people, talk to each other about what's going to happen, what is happening, what will happen. And of course, remember to check your knot.
If I were to ask you what your philosophy of life or your creed, what would that be?
Have a good time all the time. That's my philosophy, Marty.
teachers told me that's where it's at. So